Guys, hello! My third YouTube video. I am coming to you from a different room in my house today. We are remodeling a lot of our home, and painters are here painting 3 different rooms. So the room I usually am in is kind of obliterated at the moment. Not obliterated. Wrong choice of words. But taken over by tarps, paint, and the like. And I'm a little cozier today. I'm in a nice swivel chair, so I'm gonna hopefully refrain from moving all around. And I'm recording this a lot earlier than I usually do. So when I first decided to do this experiment, my hope was that I would tape it every Tuesday, and I was hoping to release it every Tuesday. But then with work and life, I was finding I was taping it late evening on a Tuesday, and it was taking me Wednesday and Thursday to like edit, upload, etc. So the past 2 weeks, these have been released on a Thursday. I'm doing my hardest. I hope I do it now. I want to release this today because it's Oscar nominations Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. And shout out to my girl Betsy, who was the one who reminded me that the NOMS were today. Completely slipped my mind, and it was a really fun surprise to learn about it this morning. So 3 things are happening in this video today. We have to review the 2 that I promised last week, CODA and the Tender Bar. But we're also leaving room for the Oscar noms. We're going to start with the Oscar noms, and then I will go into talking about the 2 films. And I'm really glad the noms came out today, because the Tender Bar, which I will talk about a little bit later, not a huge fan of, and found out it was not nominated for any Oscars. So the way I based which movies I were going to watch, I read about 3 or 4 articles about predictions of the actual Oscars, and quite a few of them said the Tender Bar would be nominated for something. Being directed by George Clooney, starring Ben Affleck, I thought for sure. So I was a little bit shocked it wasn't, although after watching it, I wasn't shocked at all. So I don't have too much to talk about, and I don't want to spend too much time on it since it's not even nominated. So we'll spend a lot more of that time speaking about the nominations. So just a heads up. Here it is, guys. I have the list, and I am happy to say that I've watched a decent amount of these. We had a feeling past few years now, there have been 10 Oscar nominated films. I am surprised at a few of these, not surprised at all at a lot of them. So we'll go with Best Picture. I do want to talk about, actor and actress and cinematography and director as well. But just reading a few of these off. So Best Picture, Power of the Dog, we assumed, right? Don't Look Up, awesome. 2 already accounted for, watched, reviewed. CODA, which I'll review today. And the rest I have not watched. Of the 10, there are 7 that I have not reviewed or watched yet. So we have Belfast, Kenneth Branagh movie. We have Drive My Car. We have Dune, which is a little bit of a shocker. We have King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and Nightmare Alley. So I'll tell you just my own thoughts. Shocked about Nightmare Alley, where looking back, I maybe shouldn't have been. It was a box office sleeper. It came out like right before Christmas, and I really wanted to see it when Omicron was really just very prevalent. Only made, oh man, not a lot at the box office, but it has like an 80, I think it's like an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I think the reason, like, I knew it would be popular because it has Bradley Cooper, it has Cate Blanchett, it has Toni Collette, it has some big names. It has, who is it? Joaquin Phoenix's girlfriend, Rooney Mara. So big names, perhaps. Oh, interesting fact, Leonardo DiCaprio was wanted for the main star, but Bradley Cooper took it over. And yes, she will mention Leonardo DiCaprio every week, will she? Yeah. That wasn't even planned. That was a bonus for you. Director, Guillermo del Toro. If you remember him, do you remember him? He directed The Shape of Water, which won the award. Oh my goodness, when was that? That was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, minimum 3 years ago, actually. He is an excellent director. I think he has a lot of like fantastical elements in his work. But I am shocked that this was nominated, and I think it's only because of the all-star, the A-list cast, and also because of the director. But I heard that it was a little, people weren't impressed with the film, but I'm looking forward to watching it because they just put it on Hulu for free February 1st. So that's actually going to be the next one I'll be watching this week. Was not surprised at King Richard. Haven't seen it yet, but heard great things there. Was not surprised about Licorice Pizza, also with Bradley Cooper. So he's in, not nominated for actor at all, but in a lot of these movies, these films. Belfast was not a surprise at either. Dune, pretty surprised at. Haven't seen it, want to. A lot of people are excited about this, but it's not the right type, I think. It's not our usual standard type for a Best Actor film, and I think a lot of people out there, and I haven't read a lot of articles or internet chatter yet about the reactions to these. I have one up on my computer about the Oscar snubs, but I kind of wanted this to be like a more organic take, how I personally felt, instead of reading more about others. But I do know from reading things in the past few weeks that a lot of people were pushing for a Spider-Man, the recent Spider-Man that came out. So, I mean, very well received at the box office. A-list cast in that too, 2 returning Spider-Men in it, special effects, etc. So I think if we're going for a large action film, people wanted to see Spider-Man versus Dune, but I can't quite give you my reaction until I watch it. Just a surprise there. So those are the 10. Best Director, new Jane for The Power of the Dog, new Steven for West Side Story. Sorry, I'm like acting like I know these people on first name basis. Steven Spielberg, Jane Campion. Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. 2 names, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, which again, I have not seen that one either. I think that one was a sleeper because I saw like 2 commercials for that, and I don't even know if a lot of people actually know, I don't know, the premise. And Drive My Car, which is also on my list, which was bumped from the maybe of watching to now the must, because it's been nominated for Best Picture. So I definitely need to work on that. For Best Actor, Best Actress, new kind of guessed 4 of these. So Kristen Stewart and Spencer, Nicole Kidman being the Ricardos, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, and Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Lost Daughter being the Ricardos, Spencer on my must list. Parallel Mothers was a maybe. I'm going to try to. And I hate to admit it, but I have never even heard of The Eyes of Tammy Faye. And I'm going to have to add that one, guys, because I have to check out Jessica's performance. It will be one of the last ones, though, because that's the only thing the film was nominated for. Best Actor, could have predicted all of these. Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog. Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom. Will Smith for King Richard, Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth, and Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos. Fun fact, Javier Bardem and also Penelope Cruz, a real-life couple, nominated for Best Actor, Best Actress. I guess this is the 6th time in history that that's happened. And maybe if I have time, I'll find some commentary on who those previous people were. But I didn't even know that, and that's pretty cool. Should make for some red carpet drama. A supporting actor, love this. I think this is really great. J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, he played Fred Mertz. Jesse Plemons in The Power of the Dog, which I've talked about. Cody Smith-McPhee in The Power of the Dog, which played the son. My guess is that he's going to win, but we'll talk about that later. I think it's Kieran Hines, or it's Irish. My Irish roots are betraying me. For Belfast, and Troy Kotzer for CODA, who I'll talk about later today. Phenomenal. Best Supporting Actress, Ariana DeBose from West Side Story. We kind of saw that one coming. She was the only actor from West Side Story to be nominated. I'm not shocked about, I guess I'm not shocked about the two leads. I thought maybe Riff would be nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but he was not. Judi Dench for Belfast, Kirsten Dunst, Power of the Dog, Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, which I have not seen yet, and Anjune Ellis for King Richard. So again, can't really comment on most of those except for Kirsten and Ariana, who were wonderful. And of those two, I guess I would say I think Kirsten should win. Original screenplay, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Worst Person in the World. Adapted screenplay, CODA, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and The Power of the Dog. I'm so sorry for any strange noises outside. There are buses and ambulances going by. I'm right next to a window. Animated feature, which I'm so ashamed to say I have not seen any of these either. Encanto, Flea, Luca, Raya and the Last Dragon. Is it Raya? Sorry. And The Mitchells versus the Machines. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Encanto is going to win because Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yes. Production design, Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Costume design, no surprise here, West Side Story, Nightmare Alley, Dune, Cyrano, and Cruella, who I was for Halloween. So cool. I mean, they had awesome costumes. Cyrano, let's just talk about for a second. This is the only award that they are nominated for, and the film doesn't even come into theaters till end of February. And Cyrano de Bergerac, if you know that at all, it's with why am I blanking on his name, guys? I say that I am such a movie person, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that actor, I love him, and then I can't even remember his name. He's from Game of Thrones. You guys will know him. He's from Elf. Yeah, this is when in the part of my movie where I put the guy's name above it because it's him. He's a great actor. Damn me for not remembering his name. I'm just a little shocked that didn't have any other awards, and so now I'm really even more interested in seeing it. Let's see, cinematography, not surprising. So Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. I think it's going to be between The Power of the Dog and Macbeth. And Macbeth is on my list to watch this week too. Even just the trailer, I'm amazed by the cinematography, and I already spoke about The Power of the Dog and that cinematography. West Side Story as well, though, but just not as powerful. Dune, I feel like it's a cinematography in such a different way, more mechanical, sci-fi, but again, I'll be able to speak more on this. It seems a little premature that I'm talking about this now, mostly because I haven't seen the entirety of these and we're going through each film. So I am hoping to do a video right at probably the week of the Oscars to be like, okay, look, I watched all of these and these are now my predictions, and give you a little bit. So sorry if I'm going too in depth. I'm just excited because they just were released. Editing, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Tick Tick Boom, and The Power of the Dog. Makeup and hairstyling, Coming to America, random, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, another one for that one, and House of Gucci. By the way, House of Gucci, totally snubbed. Didn't see that one either, but people did not like it, and I think it was highlighted to be an Oscar contender, and then people were shocked that it wasn't really well received. Sound, Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story. Score, Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, The Power of the Dog. Visual effects, Dune, Free Guy. I love how they just throw these random ones in here. No Time to Die. Spider-Man, No Way Home. So Spider-Man was nominated for visual effects, but that is it, and that is not enough. And Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Song, Down to Joy from Belfast. No Time to Die from No Time to Die. Somehow You Do from 4 Good Days. Never heard of that. Be Alive from King Richard, sung by Beyonce, clear contender slash aka cough cough winner there. And Dos Araguitas by Encanto, which is probably going to be a close one because people love that musical, but I say Beyonce all the way. I'm going to skip documentary, short film, animated short film, international feature, and live action short. Mostly because I do not have time to track all of these down and watch them. It's enough time watching all of the more readily available, more mainstream ones. I hate that because it sounds like such a sellout. But usually before the Oscars, I try to read a few reviews on them and try to guess still for fun to see what, and I did pretty well last year actually for just guessing and not having seen any of them. So main takeaways, Power of the Dog definitely swept with the most nominations. Some snubs. I think I thought I was going to see a lot more of Macbeth. I thought would see Cyrano. I didn't think I'd see, I thought I'd even see House of Gucci more. I did not expect to see Dune in so many categories. And the thing I think is becoming more popular in these last few years is the awards or categories feel more isolated now. So I'm thinking back, and this is a shout out to my girl Sherelle. We were talking about, back in 97, we children, when we loved Titanic, and Titanic swept that year with so many awards, so many nominations and awards. And it just infiltrated every category, right? It was like sound mixing, cinematography, actor, actress, best picture, best song, Celine Dion. And it's just like a movie that can hit each category. Disagree if you don't feel this way, because this is just kind of coming off the top of my head, but I feel like lately, and I mean, and of course you say with Dune and The Power of the Dog, they kind of are in each one, but there's no film that really just like, yes, all of you should be nominated, or all of it should be celebrated. And I think there's pros and cons to that. And like the pro would be just like opening us up to so many more movies to watch. Like now the fact that just because Jessica Chastain is nominated, right, that I have to watch a film to view her performance so I can, objectively say who is the best of these 5 women. But I think the con is we're missing that epic feeling of, I don't know, I haven't found anything much in my 36 years of life that, aside from Titanic, aside from a few other films where you feel swept up in them and you feel like they do deserve like every award and it was like a cultural phenomenon. And I feel like we haven't had that in quite some time. So you can debate on which is better, if there is even anything better. Anyway, I digress. We're already at 18 minutes about the Oscars. Okay, this will be my short review. We're gonna start with The Tender Bar because it's short and I don't have much to say about it. And again, they weren't nominated for anything. So I already said this. Directed by the one and only George Clooney, starring Ben Affleck. Okay, Ben Affleck was not the main character. He was the uncle of the main character. But guys, I just like the whole movie, and I'm like hour 40 something minutes. I am searching for a theme. What is the theme here? Is it daddy issues? Is it alcoholism? Is it a love story? Rags to riches, struggling writer, a mom wanting their child to do better than them, success at all costs. Like the whole hour and 40 some odd minutes were me trying to figure out what I should care about. And I wasn't even blown away by the acting. Christopher Lloyd was in it, who was excellent. He played the grandfather. I mean, he wasn't bad, but it wasn't a standout performance. Ben Affleck, I mean, we know him as the Boston guy, right? Like, yes, I'm even one of those people that like, no, like Ben Affleck is Boston, and he played a New Yorker. Wasn't really sold on his accent. I will not attempt a New York accent for you right now. And the whole time, and even with the trailer made me feel like, shouldn't we care about this uncle-nephew relationship, because there's an absentee father, and the uncle, I was imagining, would step in and be the father figure. But it wasn't. It was more this like quasi, is the son like trying to get over the loss of his father and become a great writer, because his mom always wanted him to be accomplished and go to Yale, but now he's struggling with alcoholism. And the worst part, guys, is like, I know I've talked a lot about this in the previous two of my videos, where they're the leads, I feel, maybe I'm just picky, but they don't have chemistry. So him and this woman who was like his romantic lead, I mean, the chemistry was like, I couldn't even tell if there was chemistry because they weren't even in that many scenes together. Yet the whole premise was supposed to be this will they, won't they, like, oh, she's stringing him along, and she's from a wealthy family and he is not, and she will only love him if he makes something of himself. But we have these little snapshots of their relationship where the movie is making you feel like you should care, and you don't, because they've not given you accurate character development throughout the entire time. Like, there's hardly any of it. And I don't know, and I'm really interested in this if you guys feel this way. Since the prevalence of Netflix, I watch more television, more shows than I do film. And I feel like we are so used to this like episodic, oh wow, I have at least 10 hours worth, right? If I have 10 episodes, a little bit less worth of like character development. And now we watch a movie that's an hour and a half, 2 hours, even a 2.5 hour movie, where you feel thwarted in some way. You feel like, I don't know anything about these people. I'm not connected to you. And so maybe it's just that we're so used to, I don't know, film in a different way. Because I'm trying to think about the last film that I was really satisfied with it was only like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Anyway, please tell me what you feel, because I'm very interested in talking about that and debating about that. But I had a note that says like, is Ben Affleck even in this film? Because again, like it's rare, and he has a couple of great scenes, but I don't know. I feel like Ben Affleck signed on because George Clooney was the director, and then I don't know, like I don't know what the point of this was. It didn't really make me feel anything. And I also feel like the title of the film should not be The Tender Bar, because I don't really even get where that's coming from. I know it's based on a memoir, so maybe the Tender Bar is, I think it's like it describing the feeling of him working at his uncle's bar. But it really should be titled, what does the JR stand for? What does JR stand for? Because the main character's name was Junior, but he went by JR because he didn't want to be a junior, because he didn't like his dad, and being a junior meant he was a junior of his dad. Anyway, but everyone in the film says, what's JR stand for? And I'm like, why isn't it called that? Anyway, no more time wasted on this. It's not even nominated. I did watch it. Watch it if you really need something to fall asleep to. That sounds awful. I feel bad. George Clooney, you tried. And the good thing, I will say one good thing. I really liked the music choices. A lot of Paul Simon, a lot of music from the 70s, early 80s, and with the costumes and like the old-fashioned cars and things. I shouldn't say old-fashioned, it was the 80s. But the older cars, like that was cool. It was classic, and it was very nicely done. But I give this a 1.5. I'm very sorry, George. Okay, moving on. So my last 5-6 minutes or so, gosh, this will be a longer one, guys, is talking about CODA. I loved it, guys. I loved CODA so much. CODA is on Apple TV Plus. If you don't have it, get yourself a trial. So good. I honestly say, I'm gonna give you the score right before I even talk about it. I give it a 4. Did I give another one a 4.5? Didn't I just give one a 4.5? I think I give The Power of the Dog. I think I need to give it a, am I allowed? This is my show. I'm like, am I allowed to do 4.2? I think I do 4.2. I'm gonna give it a 4.2. I can't quite give it a 4.5 because I feel like it's lacking something that makes it like an artistic gem of a movie, if that makes sense. I can try to describe that later on. Something like Academy Award worthy, but a important, progressive, feel good film that I think everyone should watch that maybe, this is going to sound awful, I'm reading too much like literature and teaching too much literature. You know, the stories where like they're more epic because they are more sad, or they leave you wanting something more, they're tragic. This really didn't have a tragic element. I mean, I shouldn't say that because of the main character is very much her life living with deaf parents and a deaf brother, being the only hearing individual, has been a struggle. And there's an element of tragedy because she loses her innocence in her childhood. She has to grow up a lot more quickly. So there's an element of that. But the ending is very hopeful and wholesome and almost not what you would expect for an Academy Award, but still beautiful. I enjoyed watching every second of it. It is, it's gotten great reviews, guys. And it has, last time I checked, I'm just going to look it up really quick. It was like a 95% on I was going to say Blue Apron, making too much Blue Apron. It was a 96% on, hello, what's the name of it? Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes. Main star, Amelia Jones, is from the Netflix show Lock and Key. Have you seen that? I don't talk to anyone about that show because I know no one who watches that show, but I love that show. It's on the 2nd season. And the whole time I'm watching her in CODA and I'm like, you are so familiar. Like, where are you from? I'm like, she's from Lock and Key. Because I do that. I look them up all the time. Such a good actress. Such a great actress. Really, really young. So we're going to see her in a lot of things, guys. Remember her name. She's only 19. She's from London. Did such an excellent job. I'm kind of sad she wasn't nominated for Best Actress because I think it would have been warranted. But just such a great job, like walking that fine line between adolescence and adulthood of like, I am mostly an adult here because I'm the only hearing individual in my family. So backtracking, CODA stands for Children of Deaf Adults. Okay, so her parents are deaf, her older brother is deaf, and she is the only hearing member of the family. So her entire life she grew up interpreting for her family. And you see the struggles there. You see the mom and dad like relying on her for a lot, and they're a fishing family. So it's based in northern Massachusetts, and they are in like Gloucester or something, and she wakes up at 3 a.m. every day with her dad and her brother, and they go fishing and they sell their fish, and she has to interpret for her dad and her brother. And I just loved it because, you know, my mom actually was a nanny for 2 children who were the children of deaf adults. They were both fully hearing, but their mom and dad were deaf. So my mom learned a little sign language and we interacted with their parents. And it's the first time I had been introduced to sign language and, you know, would enunciate so they could read my lips well. But I was like, we don't see any of the deaf community really represented. And it was wonderful to see, like, when they're with the family, them just signing and the subtitles for signing. And I loved it even more that the mother and the father, and it's Troy Kotzer, and he was the one who is nominated right now for Best Supporting Actor, and Marlee Matlin. They are both deaf actors that were hired. And I was so proud of the movie for choosing actors, real just deaf actors to portray these deaf characters, and it gave it just this element of reality, and they just got it right. But the way that Amelia and her character Ruby interacts with them is beautiful. And the story is about a young girl who is a senior in high school, and she loves to sing, and just the heartbreaking irony that, you know, she wants to leave and go to Boston and study music, and her parents cannot hear her sing, and they get a little frustrated, and they are upset that, you know, like, you can't leave us. And basically she says, well, I'm your free interpreter, right? I can't go on and pursue my dreams because you guys need me. But at the end, they like really support her dreams, and there's this very heartwarming scene where she is giving a recital at her school, and of course the parents go for their support, but you know, they cannot hear her sing. And the movie does such an excellent job of showing us from their perspective what it looks like and the absence of sound watching their daughter. So it cuts the sound and you're watching Ruby sing, and you're in the shoes of the parents looking at the daughter, and oh my goodness, I'm like gonna tear up thinking about it. But they're looking at her and they're admiring her, but they can't hear her. So in order to understand the impact she's making on the audience, they look around at the audience and they see people just in awe of her song. They see people wiping away tears because they're moved. They see just like rapture on their faces of like, this is so gorgeous. And they're like, my daughter is really, really good at this. And that moment, and then it like zooms back in on what a hearing person would see. That moment is so strong and so beautiful. And it made me just think like, we need more of this. We need to represent the deaf community more. And I am thrilled that they are nominated for these awards because they deserve it. Again, a 4.2. And there's a little comedic element because it's heavy. Like there are themes of, it's a coming of age. It's a family drama. It can be heavy, but it's also like a coming of age, and she's, you know, she has her first love, and there's comedic elements with her music teacher who pushes her to apply for Berkeley Music, Bernardo, and he's played by Eugenio Derbez, and he you guys know him, he played in Overboard. That's the only thing I've ever seen him in, but he's very, very funny, but he can be extremely serious too, and so he was a nice comedic relief there working with Ruby. So good. There was a really just to wrap it up here, I had some notes about the mom. There's this great scene. There's two pivotal scenes I just want to highlight before I wrap it up. The mom never gets along with the other women in like the fishing community because they can't hear her, right? So she's never made a connection. So she calls them hearing bitches. And she says this in front of her daughter. She's like, those other hearing bitches don't like me. And they zoom into Ruby's face, her daughter, and she's like, I don't even think my mom understands that like I am one of those hearing bitches. And like, so seeing a member of the deaf community like putting hearing people in a group of like, you don't even try, or just like hearing bitches like that. I thought it was kind of cool to see it from that angle and that side, and watch the daughter kind of be like, Mom, I'm one of them. And that wasn't the heartwarming part. That's some backstory. Then the daughter asked the mom, like, when I was born, did you wish that I was deaf? And the mom admits that she does. And at first I was like, well, why? And the mom said, because you would not fit in. I was really afraid in a family like that you would not fit in. And she was right to an extent, but just the admission of that she wanted her daughter to also be deaf, and it was kind of like showing her fear and anxiety of her own. The mother, very well acted scene. And the other beautiful scene was with the dad. And so it was after the concert, and this was after the dad was already saying, you can't leave us, you need to stay and be our interpreter, how are you going to go all the way to Boston? But he was so moved by the people that he watched listening to his daughter that before they go inside after her recital, they sit outside on his truck, and he says, will you sing for me? And she's like, oh, you want me to like sing for you? And he's like, just sing as you would. And he holds his hand up to like her neck so he can feel the vibration of her singing. And the whole scene is just like her dad, like singing to her dad, and her dad's holding like her vocal cords basically. And the tears just start streaming from his eyes. I lost it. It was, if you watch it just for that, and that is why this nomination for him, worth every second. He's phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about it, guys. It's just like, it's funny, it's heartwarming, it's represented so well. It's needed. It was just needed in damn 2022. It was needed. Okay, so this is a really long video. I'm going to try to cut it down. Next week, I am thinking about doing, so I already watched Being the Ricardos, and I think it's important because Javier and also Nicole Kidman, they were both nominated for Best Actor, Best Actress, portraying Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. I'm going to pair that with Spencer because Kristen Stewart was also nominated for portraying Lady Diana. So, you know how I'm always trying to find some sort of commonality in the two. These two real life people, especially women. I'm not trying to compare Lucille Ball to Princess Diana in any way, but both women that I think had to deal with husbands that were mistreating and committing adultery on them, that were very much in the limelight and the spotlight, and how they dealt with that. And it's like this juxtaposition between a private and a public life. So next week will be Spencer and Being the Ricardos, and I'll be watching a lot of these other heavy hitter ones. I'll be watching Dune, Macbeth this week as well, and if I have time, Nightmare Alley. But for next week, Spencer and Being the Ricardos. Okay, happy Valentine's Day, because I won't see you until the day after that. It's my favorite holiday. It's so wonderful. Love your family, love your friends, love those you're in a romantic relationship with, love your pets. I'm a sap. Great to see you all. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and I will see you soon.